So those were your early days, right? You're scrambling, you're working your butt off, and then you
Yeah.
did your Kickstarter campaign, right? What was that like? What are some tips you can provide my audience?
Well, I will say the main reason I think we launched the Kickstarter was we wanted to put out a feeler to see if there was
Yes.
enough interest in the game to merit us finishing it.
That's a
So
great
I think
question.
that,
Seriously.
yeah, that is a good thing, I think, for anybody making a game. Like, maybe don't do Kickstarter, do a YouTube channel, find some way to prove that the game you are working on, there is an audience for it and they're interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I would say just some like general Kickstarter thoughts. I would say first get a lot of feedback from people. Set up your page. Your Kickstarter is always going to take longer than what you're thinking. So prepare
Yeah.
for that. Get a lot of feedback from other people. Be very careful with your rewards because we kind of learned the hard way that like some rewards
Try not
they're
to
not
do
worth it.
if you can avoid doing
Yeah.
physical rewards, just avoid
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Unless let me do a little side note here. I'm at the point in my career where physical rewards sound amazing, because if you've got the money, just pay someone to distribute T-shirts. Because what my rewards were for Neversong, it was all effort on my part. Like, for example, creating playable characters for top tier backers. Right? They would send me a portrait, and then I would make their illustration, and then you could have a playable character, or portraits of backers in the world, like a custom portrait of their face. That stuff is free, but it's really not, because it takes
a lot
forever
of
to
time.
do. So you
Yeah,
got to weigh
yeah, we
that.
did
You
the
know,
same
do you
thing.
have the capital to pay for T-shirts? Then do that. But if you don't,
Yeah.
then you're gonna have to work your butt off late into the night, doing free work essentially.
Yeah, yeah. The we had one more high tier reward where the person would get a statue in the game,
Yep.
and then he also had he could design 3 levels, and I can't remember exactly what else it was, but thankfully we got out really easy because this guy was super easy to work with.
Oh, he was awesome.
Yeah, he was great. He was really
Really supportive and patient.
Yeah, yeah.
because
He wanted the game to be better, not necessarily just to get
I want my
his
stuff.
Yeah.
Give me my stuff.
So that I feel like we kind of dodged a bullet with that.
Oh yeah.
You do need to be
Yeah, I don't
very
know.
careful.
I mean, you've had more Kickstarters than us, so you can probably speak to it better than me. But I think we really lucked out with our Kickstarter. We had, I don't think, even one negative comment, because we launched our Kickstarter in 2017, and we didn't launch our game until 2020. And that's a long time for people to wait. It's
Yeah.
like, I gave you money, where's my game? And everybody was just so supportive.
Yeah.
They're like, take as much time as you need. We understand this is taking a while.
And they were very excited about all of our updates.
Yeah, everybody was really supportive. So
yeah.
I don't know if that was just a unique case or if most Kickstarters go like that.
I think I think people care more about social ramifications than they do about getting what they want. So a social ramification, this is me just speaking purely from a business perspective, but a social ramification would be they send a really nasty email to the creators of a project that they really like. It's like, you don't want to send a nasty email to the guys at Skookum. Like, you don't want to do that. That's you don't want to be not their
'Cause then you won't
friend,
get a free
right?
later.
So I've found that with Kickstarter, everyone's very friendly because they like you. The moment you turn the project into something that a business would do, like, we're only going to pitch the Pedestrian as a game, we're not going to introduce ourselves, we're not going to be personal in the Kickstarter, then you actually set yourself up for a lot more, thousands of people wielding pitchforks wondering where their game is. So it's really good to be personal.
Yeah. And actually, to that note, I will say that is very true. And I think one of the things that really helped us keep the Kickstarter positive was we had a lot of communication. We released I don't think we missed an update. We released an update for Kickstarter
At
every month for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were very substantial updates too. We didn't leave anything out to make sure
Yeah.
our Kickstarter backers knew all the nitty gritty, and it's like, hey, this is exactly why it took a little bit more time this month for us to get this thing done. Like, I think the more honest you are with them, the more they're willing to be understanding, I think. So
I think so too. I think it's really good to be honest. There I don't know about you guys, but there were moments where I was like, this isn't ideal, but I'm going to make a decision here and it's going to piss off a few people, but it's too hard to pass up the business opportunity. So what happens, here's an example. What happens with a lot of Kickstarter campaigns is you're in the midst of this 30-day campaign and you're so excited because you're raising this money. You never thought it's a dream come true. You never thought it was going to happen. And then you start overpromising. We're going to make a Switch game. We need 10 grand more and we're going to do it on Switch. We need 10 grand more and then we're going to release it on PS4, right? You start doing all these, what you would call, what do you call them, guys? Like tiers or whatever?
yeah, stretch goals.
Goals, yeah. And you reach those goals. And it's not a Kickstarter function. It's just something you can do with the updates. You can post an update that says, if we raise 10 grand more, then we'll do a Switch copy. For me, I did that with Pinstripe. And I promised, I got excited and I overpromised. I promised an iOS version. I was like, okay, we can do iOS. I just need 10 grand more. Well, you don't know how much this stuff costs. You have no idea when you're starting out. I don't know about you guys, but I had no idea how much it would cost to port to iOS.
So porting in general is a nightmare.
Oh, I know. It's crazy, especially iOS. I mean, iOS is particularly rough. And it took me, I did follow through on my promise. Admittedly, I planned on backing away from it because I was just like, this is impossible. But we ended up releasing on iOS last year. So the campaign was in 2016. And so it took me 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, like 5 years or whatever. 5 years to finally get started on the iOS version. And it didn't bring any money. Like we made like 5 grand. So we actually made less than we put in because it cost 7 grand to port it to iOS. There's other opportunities. So this is just a warning for all of you listening to not overpromise. Here's another example. This one's big though, but if you promised a Steam version and then Epic Games comes to you and they say, we will give you 200 grand to do an exclusive license with us plus residuals, you're going to have to decide, do I want to go to my Kickstarter camp? Like Ooblets did this. Is that the game Ooblets? They had to figure out that they took the business decision of, we're going to take the money from Epic Games and we're going to give you guys an Epic version. Which pissed a lot of people off, primarily because it was poorly worded. They did not do a good job with how they updated their audience. One thing that happened with me, here's another example, is Apple came to me and they said, we want to partner with you and we want to do, it's not exclusive, but it was kind of exclusive. It was, you can only release on Google Play, or I'm sorry, the Apple Store. You cannot release with Google. You can still do Steam, totally fine, but you just can't do Google. So I kind of dodged a bullet there because it didn't affect Steam at all.
Right. Yeah.
And I got to make a substantial amount of money from Apple because we didn't promise an Android version. So this is just really important advice. Do not overpromise if you don't have to. You can say, we'll release on mobile, but you don't have to say, we're going to release on Google or iOS. Can you imagine, guys, if I had promised to my backers, I'm going to do Android and iOS? I would have lost out on the best business deal I have ever done, which was Apple Arcade. So it's just keep it in mind. Now, it's really hard to say no Steam keys. Like, you can't from the beginning say no Steam keys on a Kickstarter campaign because Steam is like the default. If you don't offer a Steam key, then what's the point of the campaign at all, you know?
Right.
By the way, guys, feel free to download my free 2D game kit below. It's totally free. It's my treat to you. I used this exact 2D game kit to make a game for PewDiePie in 14 days, and then I got to play it in front of his subscribers, which was really awesome. So download that. Use it however you want. It's my treat to you. Yeah. Okay.